Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question asks if I can analyze the situation with Trump testing positive for coronavirus. This is going to have an effect on people. So will this affect the election? Will this affect voting behavior? And I have some other questions about conspiracy theories. We see this has led to a number of conspiracy theories, both on the left and on the right. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. So on October 1, 2020, it was announced that Donald Trump and the First Lady had tested positive for coronavirus. Before I go any further, I just want to say that I hope Trump makes a speedy recovery, and really everyone around him as well. There have been several cases in the White House that have been reported. Now, even though Trump is in a higher risk category in relation to COVID-19, he will likely recover without any issue. The chances of survival for someone in his age range, even with his medical comorbidity, are still above 95%. At the time I'm making this video, it has been reported that Trump has mild symptoms and is recovering. He was hospitalized out of an abundance of caution, not out of medical necessity. Outside of his well-being, there are the two questions that I talked about. Will this affect the election? And what's this going to do with the level of misinformation being promoted? So what about the conspiracy theories? So I'll start with the question about the election. At the time of making this video, Joe Biden is ahead in the polls to such a degree that it compensates for the so-called shy voter effect, which was thought to be partially responsible for the unexpected nature of Trump's victory in 2016. Under this theory, because of some of Trump's behavior and because of some vitriol coming from the left, many people who ultimately voted for Trump did not want to tell pollsters that they were voting for Trump. Nothing really seemed to change as a result of the debate, so the theory was that Biden was really on cruise control, headed for victory. Then, of course, we see this announcement about Trump having coronavirus. Could this actually change somebody's mind? Could this sway the election? Could there be a manifestation of the underdog effect? The idea that people don't like kicking somebody when they're down, and that somebody who is at a disadvantage may be more likely to garner empathy. So let's break this down. I don't think that anyone who is going to vote for Biden would be convinced to vote for Trump simply because Trump has the coronavirus. Although I guess in theory, it could reduce engagement, the chances that somebody will actually go out and vote. Perhaps a voter may not believe Trump can win because he has coronavirus, although it's not really clear why somebody would choose to believe that unless they're just looking for an excuse not to vote anyway. I think there's a possibility that engagement could increase for people who were leaning toward voting for Trump. Again, now he appears to be more of an underdog, and people have empathy for others in that position. As far as undecided voters, I'm not sure there are really too many undecided voters anymore. There's been a lot of time to think about this decision. It's hard to imagine there are millions of people on the fence, although the last presidential election came down to under 100,000 votes. So this is still an important group that could decide the election. I could see the news affecting this group in both directions. On the one hand, an undecided voter may be able to justify a vote for Biden, saying that Trump is now ill. They might use that line from The Godfather. It's business, nothing personal. Trump is ill, so they're going to vote for Biden because he's not ill. On the other hand, Trump testing positive could humanize him. So maybe they believed he was arrogant and self-centered, but now they see him as just another person. Another dynamic occurs to me as well, which may involve both undecided voters and those who were leaning toward Biden. If their primary concern was COVID-19, and they didn't like how Trump handled that, maybe now they would believe that because of what Trump's going through, he would better appreciate the dangerousness of the virus. Now, with all this in mind, I still don't think this is going to sway the election. Trump can still certainly win the election, but I don't think it's going to be because he tested positive for coronavirus. There are other factors that could come into play between now and the election. And we know from 2016 that the polls were not accurate, so it's really hard to invest too much in the results of the current polls. Now moving on to the second question. What happens with all the misinformation? Well, we've already seen an explosion of misinformation because of this news. all types of conspiracy theories have come out and been expanded upon. I will review a few here, both from the left and the right. The first conspiracy theory is that Trump is pretending to have the coronavirus so he can make an amazing recovery and then be able to claim he was right all along and the coronavirus isn't really that dangerous. Another related conspiracy theory is that Trump is pretending to have the coronavirus or acquired it on purpose to gain empathy and sympathy, to avoid another debate, and to avoid the humiliation if he is defeated. So now he could blame the coronavirus. I think all three of these motives are unlikely, but in particular, the idea that he's trying to gain empathy or sympathy would mean that he really strongly connected with those ideas or understands how those work. And I haven't seen a great deal of evidence supporting that he's particularly empathic. In terms of the avoidance of another debate, I don't think he viewed himself as losing the first debate, whether he did or not. I don't think he looks at himself that way. So I don't really see him having strong motivation to avoid another debate. I actually think he was looking forward to another debate. The second conspiracy theory is that the Democrats gave Trump the coronavirus in order to win the election. The Democrats didn't want to face certain defeat, so they took action. So this one doesn't make sense because I'm not sure Trump getting the coronavirus actually hurts his chances in the election. This wouldn't be a smart move for extremists who are trying to get Trump to lose the election. The third conspiracy theory is based on the beliefs of the QAnon group. This says that Trump is pretending to have the coronavirus so that Hillary Clinton can be arrested for her role in an operation that harms children. I've covered this whole conspiracy theory in another video. Trump sent out a tweet saying, among other things, "We'll get through this together." The conspiracy theorists noted that if you separate the word together, you get the words "to get her." So they thought they saw a secret clue in that message. This is really an expected result from this news about Trump having coronavirus. This group is known for analyzing messages and finding clues or patterns in them. The conspiracy theory says that there will be what they refer to as the storm and the Great Awakening, right? These two events that they believe will happen. During the storm, Trump will be victorious over evildoers, he'll arrest them all and send them to prison. And during the Great Awakening, everybody will realize that the conspiracy theorists were correct all along. So they will be celebrated as heroes all over the planet Earth. All of these conspiracy theories are, of course, ridiculous. They are so complicated as to make them nearly impossible. They involve so many people, like the staff at the hospital, at the White House. It's just too many moving parts. It's amazing to me that the simplest answer, that Trump simply contracted COVID-19, just like many other people have, has been dismissed as ridiculous and unlikely. It's like if a motorist was driving down the road and a deer ran out in front of their car, causing them to pull off to the shoulder. Perhaps the motorist was on their way to see a screening of the movie Bambi, so they believe that the deer ran out on purpose to make sure they didn't make it to their destination on time, which of course is ridiculous because very few deer appreciate cinema. It's just not one of their areas of interest. The election is already a stressful time for many people. Trump testing positive for coronavirus has only magnified the amount of stress. Distrust seems to be the feeling that people run to when they can't handle stress. And again, we see it on both sides, both the left and the right. No one is immune from conspiratorial thinking. Investing in distrust is often a maladaptive way to feel safe. People wrongly believe that distrusting others will automatically protect them, whereas trusting others will lead to an increased risk. Now, there is a place for both distrust and trust, but conspiracy theorists only value distrust. I want to cover one last question. Will there be any good that comes of the situation with Trump and the coronavirus? I think this is an important reminder that anybody can get the virus. One would think that White House officials did everything possible to protect Trump from the virus, yet they still ultimately failed. I think this is also a reminder that coronavirus does not care about political affiliation. It doesn't care if people think it's dangerous or not dangerous, if people want to wear a mask or they don't want to wear a mask. It's like the Cyberdyne System Series 800, also known as the T-800, from the movie Terminator. It has a singular focus and it cannot be reasoned with. Unlike the T-800, the coronavirus is real. Conspiracy theories may protect people's feelings, but science can actually protect their lives. Those are my thoughts on Trump testing positive with the coronavirus. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.